The assignment. The night was cold, and the base was quiet. Private Daniel Cross walked across the long metal hall with heavy boots. He had been a soldier for only 6 months, and already he hated the silence of midnight duty. Silence in a military base never meant safety. It meant waiting. It meant danger hiding somewhere unseen. Tonight was different. The commander had given him a new task. It was not guarding a gate, not watching radar, not checking weapons. This time, he was assigned to guard the prisoner. The prisoner was not human. They called her Subject E7, but the soldiers whispered a different name. They called her the Witch of Vega. No one said the name out loud after dark. Stories spread like smoke around the barracks. Some said she killed a squad of men with only her voice. Others said she could melt metal doors with her touch. One soldier swore that when he looked in her eyes, he forgot his own name for hours. Daniel laughed at these stories when he first heard them. But now, as he walked toward the locked chamber, his heart did not laugh. The chamber door was huge and gray, made of alloy thicker than a tank's armor. 2 red lights glowed above it, like eyes staring down. The guard on duty before him stepped away fast. He handed Daniel the rifle and said nothing, only a quick nod. Daniel noticed the man's hands were shaking. He thought, if a train guard is afraid, what am I walking into? The door opened with a hiss. Inside was a small room with nothing but a chair, a desk, and one reinforced wall of glass. Behind that glass, she sat, the alien, Subject E7. Her skin was pale like silver, smooth and shining under the dim light. Her hair fell like black water over her shoulders. Her eyes glowed faintly, not like lamps, but like deep stars far away. She looked fragile, almost human, but Daniel felt something pressing on his chest as soon as he entered. It was like the air grew heavier near her. He set the rifle on his shoulder and tried to stand tall. He told himself, she is just a prisoner, nothing more. Still, he could not take his eyes away. For long minutes, neither moved. She sat still behind the glass, and he stood on guard with stiff legs. The silence was too strong. Then she smiled. That small smile made Daniel's skin crawl. She should not look calm, not here, not in this cage. But she smiled like she already knew him, like she was waiting. You are new. Her voice came, not through speakers, but inside his head. Daniel almost dropped his rifle. The sound was clear and soft, echoing in his mind. He gritted his teeth and whispered out loud, "Do not talk to me." But she laughed, a low sound that vibrated through his bones. "I do not need to talk, soldier," she said. "I can feel you." Daniel's breath caught. The stories were true. She could reach into his mind. He stepped back, pressing against the wall. His hands were sweaty on the rifle grip. He wanted to call the commander, wanted to run, but his feet refused to move. Her eyes locked on his, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. The room, the glass, even the sound of his own heartbeat. He was falling into her gaze. And in that silence, a thought brushed against his mind. Soft, gentle, dangerous. "Why do you fear me, Daniel?" His name. She knew his name. He had never spoken it, not once. Fear twisted inside his stomach, but curiosity was stronger. How do you know me?" he whispered. Her lips curved again, that same calm smile. "I know all who stand before me," she said, "and I know you are not like the others." Daniel shook his head. He wanted to deny it, wanted to turn away. But deep inside, a small voice whispered that maybe, just maybe, she was right. The clock on the wall ticked slowly. Minutes stretched like hours. Daniel's orders were clear. Do not speak, do not listen, do not trust. But now he had already broken all 3. And worse, he wanted to hear more. Something about her voice inside his head felt like music, like warmth. Even as fear burned in his chest, another feeling grew, a strange pull like gravity. He swallowed hard and tightened his grip on the rifle. This is only the first night, he thought. I only have to last until dawn. But as he looked at her through the glass, watching her glowing eyes fixed on him, he knew this was no simple assignment. This was the beginning of something else, something he could not control. And in the silence, Daniel realized a dangerous truth. The prisoner was not trapped here with him. He was trapped here with her. The first encounter. The night stretched longer than Daniel expected. The clock hands seemed to crawl, and every tick echoed louder inside the small guardroom. Daniel had faced training drills, harsh commanders, and battlefield exercises, but nothing had prepared him for silence with her. The alien did not sleep. She sat behind the glass like a statue, eyes half closed, hands folded neatly on her lap. Her stillness was unnatural, almost too perfect. Sometimes her chest moved like she was breathing, and sometimes it did not. It made Daniel wonder if she even needed air. He tried not to look at her. He kept his eyes on the floor, on the wall, anywhere else. But no matter where he looked, he felt her gaze sliding over him. It was like invisible fingers brushing across his skin. He told himself it was imagination. But deep down, he knew it wasn't. Hours passed until finally, her voice touched his mind again. "You are tired," she said softly. Daniel clenched his jaw. "I didn't give you permission to speak," he muttered out loud. "You think silence will protect you?" she asked. "It will not, soldier." Her words were not harsh, not cruel. They were calm, gentle, like someone offering comfort, and that made them more dangerous. Because comfort was the one thing Daniel wanted right now. Alone, cold, and trapped in this strange duty. He refused to answer, but his silence did not stop her. "I can feel your fear," she whispered inside his thoughts. "And your doubt." Daniel's fingers twitched on the rifle grip. His throat was dry. He wanted to shout, but his voice would not rise. Then she said something that froze him completely. "You dream of freedom, don't you?" The words hit too close. Daniel did dream of freedom. Not from her, not from this room, but from the military life he had been forced into. The endless orders, the chain of command, the life where he was nothing but a number. How could she know that? How could she see inside him so easily? His pulse quickened. He forced himself to speak. "Stay out of my head." But her voice came again, calm and steady. "I do not enter your head," she said. "You open it yourself." He stared at her through the glass. Her glowing eyes met his, and this time he did not look away. The world outside the chamber seemed to fade, the hum of machines, the ticking clock, even the weight of the rifle in his hands. There was only her. Her lips parted, and though no sound crossed the glass, her voice filled his mind once more. "I know your pain, Daniel," she said. "I know the loneliness you hide from others." He wanted to deny it, but her voice was like a blade cutting too deep. He felt naked under her gaze. Every secret, every regret, every weakness, she saw them all. For the first time, Daniel spoke without thinking. "Who are you?" Her head tilted slightly. "I'm not what they told you," she answered. "I'm not their monster, not their weapon." She leaned forward, closer to the glass. "I'm a prisoner of war, but not guilty of war." Daniel's breath caught. Her words sounded honest. But wasn't that what a liar would say? Still, something inside him stirred. A question, a dangerous thought. What if she was telling the truth? He tightened his grip on the rifle again. "You expect me to believe you?" he asked. Her smile was small, sad, almost human. "I expect nothing," she said. "But you will one day." The silence that followed was heavy. Daniel felt the pull of her presence, stronger now, like invisible threads binding him to her. He hated it, yet he could not break free. Suddenly, the lights flickered in the chamber. The hum of electricity stuttered. For a moment, everything went dark, and in that darkness, he heard her voice closer than ever. Not in his head, but right beside his ear. "Daniel." The lights came back with a sharp buzz. She was still behind the glass, sitting calmly. But Daniel's skin was pale, sweat dripping from his temple. He looked around, heart racing. Had she moved? Had she escaped? No. The glass was unbroken, the locks untouched. But the echo of her voice still clung to him. This was no ordinary prisoner. This was something else. Something far beyond human understanding. Daniel's orders were clear. Guard her until dawn, nothing more. But after this night, he knew one thing for certain. Guarding her was not the real danger. The real danger was how much she was already inside him, and dawn was still hours away. Secrets revealed. The second night came too quickly. Daniel told himself he wouldn't return. He thought of faking an injury, trading shifts, even asking for reassignment. But orders were orders, and orders had chains sharper than any cage. So when the clock struck midnight, Daniel found himself walking the same corridor again, rifle in hand. The door hissed open, and she was waiting, not sitting this time, not silent. She was standing close to the glass, her glowing eyes fixed on him, like she knew the exact moment he would walk in. "Welcome back." Her voice slid into his mind, smooth as silk. Daniel swallowed hard. He wanted to ignore her, but his body betrayed him. His eyes met hers, his breath caught. It was like walking into a trap he already knew existed, yet could not resist. He stood straighter, tried to sound firm. "Stay back from the glass," he said. Her lips curved slightly, not in defiance but in amusement. "You think this glass keeps you safe?" she asked. Her hand lifted slowly, pale fingers pressing against the reinforced wall. Daniel's chest tightened. He almost expected the glass to melt, to shatter. But it didn't. She left no mark at all. "Then why are you here, soldier?" she whispered in his head. "Do you guard me? Or do you guard yourself?" Daniel clenched his fists. "I'm here because I was ordered," he snapped. She tilted her head, her dark hair sliding across her shoulder. "You're not like the others," she said again. "They came with fear and hate, but you come with questions." Daniel's heart skipped. He didn't want to admit it, but she was right. Every step closer to her felt like a step away from the army's truth, and into her truth, whatever it was. He lowered his voice, barely a whisper. "What are you?" For the first time, her calm expression broke. Her smile faded, her eyes softened. "I'm not what they told you," she said slowly. "My people, we were not the invaders, Daniel." Her voice trembled slightly, echoing through his thoughts. "We were running, hunted. We came not to conquer, but to survive." Daniel's breath froze in his chest. The official story said her kind were monsters from the stars, that they attacked first, that humans were only defending themselves. But the way she said it, there was pain, there was sorrow. Not the cold tone of a killer, but the voice of someone who had lost everything. "You expect me to believe that?" he asked, his tone sharp, but weaker than before. Her gaze held his. "I do not expect you to believe," she whispered. "I only expect you to listen." Daniel looked away, but the seed was already planted. The thought was already alive. What if the army lied? What if the enemy was never the enemy? He shook his head, trying to push it away, but her voice pressed on, gentle and relentless. "They killed my people, Daniel," she said. "They locked me here because I refused to fight." Her glowing eyes dimmed, shadows crossing her face. "I am their prisoner because I would not become their weapon." The words hit like a hammer in his chest. If she was telling the truth, then everything he had been trained to believe was twisted. He felt anger. At her, at himself, at the faceless commanders who gave orders without answers. But above all, he felt confusion. He forced his voice out. "Why me? Why tell me this?" Her expression softened, and her hand pressed to the glass again. "Because you still see me as more than a monster," she said quietly. "And because you will need to know the truth soon." Daniel's heart pounded. "Need to know? Why?" Her eyes flashed brighter, almost burning now. "Because something is coming," she said. "Something even your commanders fear to speak of." The chamber fell silent again, but this time the silence felt heavy, like a storm waiting beyond the walls. Daniel stood frozen, her words digging into him. He wanted to demand more, but she closed her eyes, retreating into herself. And for the rest of the night, she said nothing more. But the damage was done. Her truth, or her lie, was alive in his mind now, and it refused to let him rest. When the sun finally rose and his shift ended, Daniel walked out of the chamber. But as he left, her final words echoed in his head. Not spoken, not whispered, burned. "The real war has not begun." The escape plan. The alarm woke the base like a scream. Red lights flashed through the corridor, Sirens echoed against metal walls. Daniel ran toward the prisoner chamber, heart pounding, rifle in hand. Soldiers shouted orders. Boots thundered past him, but no one slowed to explain. Something was happening, something big. When he reached the chamber, she was already standing near the glass, waiting. Her glowing eyes burned brighter in the crimson light. "Your base is under attack." Her voice slid into his mind, calm, almost certain. Daniel froze. "How do you know?" She tilted her head, hair falling like black silk. "Because I can feel them." Before Daniel could answer, the walls shook. A deep explosion rattled the floor. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered, sirens cracked and sputtered. The war had found them. He pressed a hand to his earpiece. Static, nothing else. The chain of command was gone. He was alone, alone with her. "Open the door," she whispered in his head. Daniel snapped his gaze to hers. "No," he growled, gripping his rifle tighter. "You'll kill us all." Her lips curved slightly. "If I wanted you dead, Daniel, I would not wait," she said. Her voice pressed deeper into his skull. "Open the door, or you will die with them." Another explosion rocked the hall. Screams echoed from somewhere far down the corridor. The smell of burning metal seeped through the air vents. Daniel's pulse hammered. Orders told him to stay. Duty told him to guard. But survival whispered something else. "Why should I trust you?" he shouted over the wail of alarms. Her hand pressed against the glass, pale against the trembling wall. "Because I do not lie," she said softly. "And because you already want to." Daniel's throat went dry. Was she right? Did he already want to free her? No, he told himself it was madness. But the thought would not leave. The corridor lights snapped again. Then silence. The alarms died, the sirens cut off. Only the low hum of emergency power remained. The base was breaking piece by piece. From the shadows beyond the glass, her eyes glowed brighter. "Daniel," she whispered inside his head, "they will come for me. And when they do, they will not leave you alive." Her words sank deep, cold, sharp, heavy. Choose now. Stay loyal to their lies, or live long enough to see the truth. Daniel's breath shook in his chest. He turned toward the door. Thick steel, reinforced, guarded by codes he was not supposed to know. But he did know. Every soldier assigned to this post carried the override key, just in case. He raised his hand to the panel, but stopped. If he opened that door, there was no turning back. He would no longer be a soldier. He would be a traitor, a criminal, hunted. But if he didn't, another explosion cracked the air, closer this time. The ceiling lights burst, showering sparks across the chamber. Daniel flinched, raising his arm to shield his face. When he lowered it, she was still there, calm as stone. "Do it," she whispered. Her eyes caught his, and for a moment, just a moment, he believed her. His hand slammed against the panel. The locks hissed, heavy bolts sliding back one by one. The door groaned, splitting down the center. Cold air swept out as it opened, and she stepped forward free. Daniel lifted his rifle fast, finger on the trigger. "Stay back," he warned. But she only looked at him with that strange, almost human calm. "You already chose," she said. Her voice was soft, not mocking. And Daniel realized she was right. He had chosen the moment he touched the panel. Another blast shook the floor, and the sound of boots came pounding from the corridor. Not soldiers this time, something else. Screeches, mechanical groans, the sound of metal tearing metal. The attackers were not human. Daniel backed toward the exit, rifle raised. She followed, silent, graceful, eyes glowing in the red shadows. The base around them burned. Alarms screamed back to life. And for the first time since this war began, Daniel felt the ground shifting beneath his feet. The truth was not what he had been told. And now, with her beside him, he was running straight into it, running together. Smoke filled the air, thick and black. The corridor ahead burned with sparks and twisted metal. Daniel pressed his back to the wall, rifle raised. His pulse raced with every distant scream, every inhuman screech echoing through the halls. Beside him, she moved without panic. Even free of her cell, she walked like the chaos belonged to her. Her eyes glowed faintly through the smoke, guiding him like stars in a storm. Daniel hated that he needed her, but each time he hesitated, her voice brushed his mind, steady and calm. This way, Daniel. Another explosion shook the ground. A steel door crashed down behind them, blocking the way back. There was no return now, only forward. They ran, boots slamming against the trembling floor. Soldiers rushed past in the opposite direction, shouting, firing blind into the smoke. Daniel glimpsed one of the attackers, a shadow of jagged metal and shifting limbs. Not alien, not human. Something else. Something worse. His chest tightened. The base was not under attack from her people. This was something entirely different, and the army had never warned them. She stumbled beside him, her legs weak from too many nights locked in the glass cage. Without thinking, Daniel caught her arm, pulled her close. Her body was cold against his, light as if her bones were hollow. She looked up at him with those burning eyes, and he felt something stir deep inside. Something that was not fear. "Keep moving," he muttered, trying to hide the tremor in his voice. Her lips curved just slightly. "You carry more than a weapon, soldier," she whispered in his mind. He ignored her words, but they sank in anyway, like hooks he couldn't pull free. The corridor split in two. One path lit by fire, the other swallowed in darkness. She pointed toward the dark. "Left," she said. Daniel frowned. "I can't see a thing." "You don't need to." Her voice came back. "I will see for you." He hesitated, then followed. The dark swallowed them whole. He kept his rifle raised, finger tight on the trigger. Every step echoed too loud. Every breath felt stolen. Somewhere above, metal screeched like an animal's cry. Then, something dropped from the ceiling. A twisted machine with clawed limbs and a glowing red core. It lunged at Daniel. He fired, the rifle kicking against his shoulder. Bullets ripped through wires and steel, sparks flew. The thing shrieked and collapsed in a smoking heap. Daniel's heart hammered. He had faced enemies before, but nothing like this. What were these creatures? And why were they here? She placed a hand on his arm, cool and steady. "Not everything in this war is what you were told," she said softly. Her touch was light, but it made him shiver. He pulled away, shaking his head. "Save your riddles," he muttered. But even as he said it, part of him wanted to believe her. They kept moving. The deeper they went, the worse the base became. Walls torn open, wires sparking, the air thick with smoke and blood. The screams of soldiers grew fewer. The silence after each scream grew longer. Finally, Daniel pushed open a hatch, and they stumbled into a tunnel. Cold air rushed in, cleaner than the smoke-filled corridors above. For the first time since the alarms began, Daniel could breathe. She leaned against the wall, weak, her pale skin glowing faintly in the dark. Her legs shook. Without thinking, Daniel slid an arm around her waist and pulled her up. Her weight was nothing, so light it frightened him. "Why are you helping me?" she asked softly, her voice not in his mind this time, but spoken. The sound of her real voice surprised him. It was soft, fragile, almost human. Daniel hesitated, then muttered, "Because if you fall here, I fall with you." Her eyes widened, just for a second. Then she lowered her head, hiding her expression. But Daniel felt it, the bond growing, like a rope pulling tighter with every step. They moved deeper into the tunnel. Behind them, the base burned, screams fading into silence. Ahead of them stretched only darkness. But for the first time, Daniel realized he was no longer running alone. He was running with her. And somehow, that was worse and better all at once. The truth about her. The tunnel stretched endlessly, cold and wet. Water dripped from pipes above, echoing in the dark. Daniel carried her arm over his shoulders, each step heavy. His muscles burned, his lungs ached, but he pushed forward. Behind them, distant crashes echoed through the base. The metal beasts were still tearing it apart. But here, in the underground, silence pressed close. Too close. Daniel stopped to catch his breath, leaning against the wall. His rifle felt heavier than ever, his vision blurred. He had fought exhaustion before, but this felt different. The air itself seemed poisoned, thick. His chest tightened until every breath scraped like broken glass. She pulled back from him, watching with those endless eyes. "You're fading," she whispered. Daniel shook his head, tried to lift the rifle again. "I'm fine," he lied. But his knees buckled, and he crashed to the floor. The cold stone bit into his skin. His vision swam. Above him, the tunnel lights flickered weakly. Her pale face hovered over him, sharp against the shadows. "You cannot go further like this," she said, her voice steady. Her hand hovered above his chest, fingers trembling. Daniel frowned, struggling to stay conscious. "What are you doing?" he croaked. Her lips pressed together in hesitation. Then, softly, "The truth." Before he could stop her, her hand pressed against his chest. A sudden warmth spread through him, deep and heavy. Not the sharp burn of fire, but the deep ache of life returning. Daniel gasped as air flooded back into his lungs. His heartbeat steadied, the pain in his chest eased. The poison air no longer clawed at him. His eyes widened. What did you just do?" Her hand lingered against him. Her eyes glowed brighter now, but not with power, with sadness. "This is why they fear me," she whispered. "Not because I destroy, but because I heal." Daniel froze. Every soldier had been told she was a killer, a weapon too dangerous to live. And yet, she had saved him. Not for orders, not for gain, but because she chose to. He sat up slowly, staring at her. His heart pounded, not with fear now, but confusion. "Why hide this?" he asked, his voice rough. "Why let them believe you're a monster?" Her gaze dropped. "Because monsters can be caged," she said quietly. Her voice shook now, soft and broken. "But a savior, a healer, cannot be allowed to exist. Not in their war." The words hit like stone in his chest. If she was telling the truth, then his commanders had lied. They had locked her away, not to protect humanity, but to control the story, to control him. Daniel clenched his fists. He wanted to deny it, to cling to duty, but the warmth in his chest, her gift, was undeniable. His own survival, now, carried her mark. She pulled her hand back slowly, her glow fading. "I cannot save everyone," she whispered. "And every time I heal, I carry their pain with me." Her shoulders trembled slightly, as if the weight of every life she had touched pressed down on her now. Daniel's throat tightened. This alien, this prisoner, this so-called witch. She wasn't their weapon. She wasn't their enemy. She was something else, something more, and she was breaking under the burden of her own gift. For the first time since this war began, Daniel reached out. His hand brushed hers, steadying her. "You don't have to carry it alone," he said quietly. She lifted her head, surprise flickering in her glowing eyes. "Why would you?" she whispered. He held her gaze, firm now. "Because if I fall here, I fall with you." Silence filled the tunnel. But it wasn't the silence of fear anymore. It was the silence of something unspoken, something binding. For the first time, Daniel wasn't sure if he was guarding her, or if she was saving him. Far above, another explosion thundered, shaking dust from the tunnel ceiling. The war outside raged on, but deep underground in the shadows, a different battle had already begun. The fight inside Daniel, between loyalty to the chain of command and loyalty to the truth, now burning in his chest. The final choice. The tunnel opened to the night sky. Cold wind swept across Daniel's face as he stepped out into the ruins beyond the base. Behind him, smoke rose in dark towers, flames eating what was left of the outpost. The machines had done their work. Nothing human could have survived inside. But Daniel had. Because of her, she walked slowly beside him, leaning against his arm. Her skin still faintly glowed in the moonlight, fragile but steady. Every step forward felt heavier, not because of her weight, but because of what waited ahead. Across the barren field, floodlights cut through the dark. Soldiers, his soldiers, stood in formation, rifles raised. At their center, A tall figure stepped forward. Commander Hade. His armor dented, his face streaked with soot, but his voice was steady when he spoke. Private Daniel Cross, he barked. By order of Central Command, drop your weapon, step away from the prisoner, and surrender her at once. Daniel froze. His rifle felt like ice in his hands. The alien clung to his side, silent. Her eyes searched his face, but she said nothing. She didn't need to. He could already feel her in his mind. This is your moment. The soldiers' rifles clattered as they cocked into position. One order, and they would cut him down. Daniel's heart pounded. He wanted to shout, to demand the truth. But Hale spoke first, his voice sharp as steel. She is not what she seems, the commander said. She's a weapon, Cross, a tool of the enemy. If she is allowed to escape, millions will die. Daniel's grip tightened. He remembered her hand on his chest, the warmth of life flowing back into him. He remembered her voice, soft, breaking. I heal. I do not destroy. Two truths stood before him, his commander's and hers. One of them had to be a lie. But which? The commander raised his hand. Kill her, soldier, he ordered. Prove you're still one of us. The world froze. The floodlights burned, the rifles aimed. Daniel stood with the rifle heavy in his grip, the alien in his arms, her eyes glowing with quiet sorrow. No words, no pleas, just trust. His finger hovered over the trigger. Every instinct drilled into him screamed, obey. But every breath in his chest whispered, defy. She touched his arm lightly. Her voice entered his mind, soft as falling rain. Whatever you choose, Daniel, I will not hate you. The words broke something inside him. She should have begged, should have fought for her life. But instead, she gave him freedom. And in that freedom, he found his choice. Slowly, Daniel lowered the rifle. The soldiers shifted uneasily, whispers rising. Commander Hale's eyes narrowed. Cross, he growled. What do you think you're doing? Daniel's voice shook, but it carried. I'm doing what's right, he said. She's not our weapon. She's not our enemy. You lied to us. A ripple of shock ran through the soldiers. Hale's face twisted with fury. You're a traitor, he spat. You doom us all. Before Daniel could answer, the ground trembled. From the burning ruins behind them, another machine clawed its way out. Sparks rained as its limbs scraped the earth. Its red core pulsed like a heartbeat. It screeched, loud enough to shatter glass, and charged. The soldiers opened fire, bullets tearing through the night. But the machine didn't fall. It plowed forward, cutting through men like grass. Chaos exploded across the field, and in the middle of it, Daniel felt her hand grip his. Her eyes blazed brighter than he had ever seen. Not with fear, but with power. I can end this, she whispered in his mind. But if I do, they will never stop hunting me. Daniel met her gaze. The choice was no longer just his. It was theirs, to run into the shadows together, hunted by both sides, or to unleash her power here and reveal the truth to all. The machine roared closer, tearing through the ranks. The commander screamed, orders lost in the chaos. And Daniel stood frozen in the storm of fire and blood. Her hand in his rifle useless. One choice left, one that would decide the future of both their worlds. And as the machine's shadow swallowed them, Daniel drew a breath, ready to answer,